Okay, well, we really appreciate you guys coming here today. We're going to share our favorite books and we're going to talk about, how they may have inspired us or maybe something we just loved about them. And, Jackie, Anna Marie, and I had so much fun doing this. So I think it'll end up being really fun because if you watched it, we realized that there were a lot of books that we had in common or things that I know I kept saying, ooh, I kept remembering things. So anyway, we're not going to force anybody to talk, but we would love for you to share. And whoever would want to go first can. I know, Anna Marie, I'm sure you want to say a couple of words before we begin.
Okay, yes. So I'm thrilled that everyone was able to join us today. And as I said, it's wonderful to be with a group of fellow readers, especially people who really immerse themselves into literature and just good books to sit down with. And we're hoping that to be able to do these types of videos, recordings every so often so that we can invite other people to join in with us and just kind of expand the joy of reading with everybody. So that's what we're doing, along today. So for our general audience, I'll say, we've gathered together a group of women who are enthusiastic about reading and who are very willing to share some of the impacts that books have made on their lives at various times, from young adults to, I can say, aged person myself. I tried to figure out last night how many books I've read, and it was a lot. So, so we're thrilled that everyone can be with us. So,
Thank you.
mhm. So again, it can be a type of book that impacted you, or Jackie, the last time we were all together, talked about one of the first books that she remembered having as an individual read for herself, but she wasn't able to read yet. So it took on a whole different type of magic. Jackie, do you want to just share about that just very briefly?
Yeah, actually, so I spoke a little bit last week about my very first like adult book that I received, but I was about 4 or 5, I believe. And it was a hardback, gold gilded paged, embossed cover edition of Black Beauty that I received from a certain Kathleen Beale. Who's an avid book lover and who offered me this book as a child. And it was like this treasure that I had that I could not read yet. And I didn't know it to, I mean, I love the looking at it and the cover, but I think sometimes you don't realize that um, a gift that you might give from the heart will impact somebody else's heart and give them the same type of passion as that you have. So I kind of feel like that's a very special bond that we have through that book. And so thank you again.
Oh,
I still have
always
it.
welcome. It's funny
Very
when you
good.
said about picking, when I listened to the last podcast about picking your favorite book. And I tried really hard to pick one book that really made an impact on me. But I came up with so many authors. But I think that the one that really did it for me was The Joy Luck Club by
Mm,
Amy Tan.
Oh,
And I've read every one of her books, and Lisa C., who's also, and I found myself going into more cultural books. Um, I like to read the Irish books, the uh, things about English history, like Philippa Gregory. And when I, way back when I gave Jackie that book, I do remember that. And I'm thinking, it's so pretty, she's going to love it, you know?
yeah,
Yeah.
that's cool. That's really nice.
Hmm.
Very nice. Anyone else get a book when they were very young that made
Well, this
an
isn't the book
impression?
because I only found the out about the assignment a few days ago. But when I was a young girl, I came across, and Stephanie's familiar with it. I came across my bachelor uncle's uh, book from when he was in 8th grade,
Oh, wow.
Essays
Oh,
of
that's
Dan
nice.
and Nab. It was written in 1937. And the one essay in it that has always impacted me is Helen Keller's essay, 3 Days to See.
Hmm.
And I strongly recommend that all of you look it up. You can print it off of the computer. It's called 3 Days to See. And as you know, she became deaf and blind when she was 19 months old.
Mm.
And she became an amazing person, writer, speaker. And I've always encouraged my kids to read it. And I reread it this morning.
Oh,
So I'm just going to read. She imagines what it would be like to have only 3 days to see. So she says, sometimes I have thought it would be an excellent rule to live each day as if we should die tomorrow. Such an attitude would emphasize sharply the values of life. We should live each day with a gentleness, a vigor, and a keenness of appreciation, which are often lost when time stretches before us in the constant panorama of more days and months and years to come. And then reading this morning, I hadn't really picked up on this. She, she says here, now and then I have tested my seeing friends to discover what they see. Recently, I was visited by a very good friend who had just returned from a long walk in the woods, and I asked her what she had observed. Nothing in particular, she replied. I might have been incredulous had I not been accustomed to such responses, for long ago I became convinced that the seeing see little.
Mm.
And if you read all through this, it's amazing. She describes, I won't bore you with reading it, but feeling a leaf and feeling in that leaf a bird flying. I mean, so many things that we experience that go unnoticed. And it just every time I read this essay, and I made Stephanie read it too, uh, it just makes you realize how appreciative and grateful we should be for everything that we have, and how just out of so little, this person, Helen Keller, appreciated so much more of the world than we do.
Mhm.
So that's the essay. It's not a full book, although have read full books.
hmm.
But just there's something about this that just brings you back to realizing what's important in life
Mm. Yeah,
and how appreciative we should be of what we have.
yeah.
Oh, that's a beautiful sharing. Thank you.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that really is. Hmm. And to think how eloquently she was able to articulate,
Hmm.
what seeing is.
It's incredible.
It's
And
right.
because she describes what she would do each day, and each night she wants to go to the theater. And all she ever experienced at the theater was somebody writing into her hand what was being said on the stage. And how she can imagine, she said, I would love to see their faces and their interactions, and even to conceptualize that
Mm.
those things could be happening.
Hmm.
Absolutely incredible. It really is. So that's your assignment until the next book, called Three
Yeah.
Days to See. And I know it's available because I printed it up. In fact,
Hmm.
I printed up for all my grandchildren. I can tell them they have.
Mhm.
I think I need to read that once a day. So.
Yeah. Yep.
True.
Well, I
Yeah.
think that's one of the reasons that all of us were very willing to get on this morning and sit and share because we know the power of the written word,
Hmm.
how deeply it can impact our five senses,
Hmm.
and how deeply just a few words can stay with us for a very long period of time.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Right. That's your children's book on the senses.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
This
Yes,
is
it is.
like
Yeah,
this is
I
what
wouldn't have brought that up, but yes, it is. Yeah, that's the whole idea behind that book is learning to become familiar with the five senses.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I
So,
do have two quick stories to share, but I'm not going to do it just yet.
mhm.
But I just had a realization about a connection between books, Jackie, and Carol. So I do Don't
Oh,
forget, because
okay.
it's a very good one.
We'll remind you.
Okay.
Okay. So anyone else that has something that deeply impacted them?
Well, what Carol just brought up about Helen Keller with the senses and feeling and being able to see or not see that, I feel that way with some of the books that you read about different cultures,
Mhm.
that the Japanese or the Chinese culture, you see what they went through. The Irish one, there was one of my very favorite books that I picked up. I pick up a lot of books because I like the covers
Mm.
and it draws me in. I'm big on the cover art. And one of my favorite ones was called The Invisible Wall. And it gave me a sense of what it was like to be in World War One in a neighborhood that was segregated between Jewish people and non-Jewish people. And I read the whole book and it was beautiful. It was a beautiful book. And when I finished it, it was by a gentleman named Harry Bernstein. And when I finished it and read the back of it, he was 93 when he wrote that book.
Mm.
Oh,
And that was
wow.
his first book.
Wow.
And the story was, he was wonderful in making you feel like you were there and experiencing, just like what Carol said, with Helen Keller being able to experience different senses. I felt I was there in his book. It's a beautiful book to read if you can pick it up.
Okay.
That is beautiful. Yeah. Behind the wall?
The
Is that what you said?
The
Wall. I think
Invisible Wall.
Oh,
The
the
Invisible
invisible.
Wall.
Oh, I'll make up a title.
Yeah.
The
Behind the
invisible
Yes.
wall. Anna Marie's next up
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
I'll
My
have to
new
write it down.
reading list.
You know me.
Yeah, The Invisible Wall, Harry
The
Bernstein.
invisible one. I'll
Yes.
write it down right this minute. Yeah, that sounds good.
But
Yeah,
it's
it
great
does.
to experience all the different cultures and
Mhm.
the senses,
Very
like you
much
said.
so.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Well, and then we realize how much in common our different cultures have. Like my one book, I'm not pushing it, but it is available on Amazon.
Uh-huh.
And I had told Anna Marie, whoops, the beach keeps making my things go in and out, but it has a lot of Jewish culture in it. And when I wrote it, I really thought it would only be interesting for somebody who was Jewish. And one of my biggest promoters of the book was a gym instructor at the JCC who wore a cross, and a Christopher medal all the time, and she absolutely loved the book.
Mhm.
Then a woman who works in the church thrift shop who's obviously not who was not Jewish. She said, "Oh my God, that reminds me exactly of my family and how my family struggled with all of this." And it reminds me, my husband always said that with Fiddler on the Roof, they were also concerned that it would only be interesting for a Jewish audience. And he saw the people who were trying to promote the story on an interview, and they said the key is tradition.
Yes.
It has nothing to do with
Mm.
Mm.
Jewish or Irish or Italian. It's just the tradition that you have. And that's the common thread in all of these kinds of books.
And I
Hmm.
can still sing every word from the high school musical that we did of The Fiddler on the Roof.
I auditioned for Fiddler on the Roof at a high school near me, Father Judge, and it is my favorite musical. Let me just tell you, I did not get the part, but I still did it.
They're actually having a production of Fiddler on the Roof in Cinnaminson
Oh, okay.
Oh, are they?
That's cool.
weekend
Very
at the
nice.
Footlighters. It's
Oh,
on this
wow.
week.
Oh,
Nice.
how about that? Yeah, that's amazing. Sarah, how about you, hon? What book impacted you?
Sure. So when you told me about it, the first book that popped into my mind was Anne of Green Gables.
Mm.
And I had, been reading like more young adult books and things before that. Like there were other books that I loved, but I think Anne of Green Gables is the first book that I read that I like felt like I could relate so much to the character. That was the first character I think that I could see myself in her because she's, super chatty and how she loves school and all that kind of stuff. So I think that was the first book that I was like, oh my God, like I could really relate to her, and a lot of the things that she said, like I was like, oh, I say things like that, or I feel things like that. So I think that was, nice to have that connection, to feel like, there's other people out there that might think like me,
Right.
or act like me, or have interests that other people don't have, but that's okay. And I think she was so independent, and she just, she didn't change herself, for everybody else. So I
Mhm.
think that was really good. And then I think reading it, I read it multiple times. Reading it, like when I got a little bit older, I think the relationship between her and Gilbert, like I do really think that influenced like my perception of like the type of person that I would want to find. So I can see a lot of those qualities, in Chad, like that started from back then, of being like, here's this character I really relate to, and I can see so much of myself in her. And wanting to, like, kind of emulate those qualities and things. So it was, yeah.
So
So that was,
Chad was a character in a book.
yes, he is a character. But I mean, just that, like, how he was, so just how he treated her, and all of those things, kind of seeing that and being like, that's pretty, like that's something that, anyone would want for themselves, and kind of, like feeling like that. So
Yeah, he
yeah,
was a
so it was
great
pretty,
role model for her.
yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was nice. So
That's
that
cool.
was my first book that really, I think, had an impact in that way. So
That's neat.
Loved it.
Yeah.
I had a hard time coming up with a particular book. But what really stands out to me from when I was growing up was the Nancy Drew books.
Yes.
And I probably read almost all of them.
Yes.
And it kind of set up a lifetime of enjoying mystery and fiction, and detective stories and all of that. They're still one of my favorite kinds of books. If I know one of them is on the shelf ready to read, I'm excited when I'm finished the book I'm reading, and I want to go on to them. So I feel that just tapped into an interest of mine. And along the years, I've always enjoyed the Alex Cross books that James Patterson writes.
Yeah.
It's a different feel. He, short chapters and keeps it really moving, but they just excite me as well. And then more recently, I've been reading the Maisie Dobbs series. I don't know if anybody's familiar with them or not, but they're set in the 1930s and 40s. She's a British person, and she is a psychologist, but she was also trained as an investigator. And very unusual. She was trained by a very prominent person in the UK. When he died, he passed on his business to her. So it was unusual being a woman and in this kind of position. But it's also valuable in terms of historical fiction because of the different phases that the world is going through, and how her investigations relate to them, but also delves into her personal life quite a bit. So you get really attached to Maisie herself. And I heard Jacqueline Winspear is the author for that. So I can't really zero in on one particular book, even though I'm sure I could. That was the most important book,
Right.
but really this was, in terms of genre and that kind of thing, it's been a lifelong passion of mine.
That's interesting that you make that connection. I never did, but I used to love Nancy Drew with her roadster.
Yes.
And I also love Patterson's Cross character, and like mysteries. I never really made that connection, but you're absolutely right. I guess that must have been the start of liking those mysteries.
That's how I started with Nancy Drew. My mom would buy me 3 at Christmas and 3 for my birthday, and I would read those and eat those up and wait for the next 3 to come. And I don't know, I think there was 99 or 100 of those.
Were there
Close
really?
to it. Yeah. Yeah. And I remember those very fondly. Yeah.
They were great.
But what's interesting now is my oldest granddaughter is 5 and a half, or 5 3/4, she will tell you. She loves books.
Good.
And she really does. She goes and reads by herself. It's not just something that she reads, when somebody presents it to her. And actually, what my husband and I have done, they live in Virginia. What we've started to do when she was younger, and now her younger sister is involved, and they're having another one in June. Every week when we get on FaceTime, in fact, I was on FaceTime before this, and we read books to them over FaceTime. And
Nice.
they even choose, which book they want sometimes, and all this. They remember books that, we read a while ago. They really do pay attention and remember. And
No.
I learned how to read on her own pretty much when she was about 4. She's getting into the short chapter books now. And when I was in the dollar store for something else, I saw that they had Nancy Drew books in these short chapter books. So I bought that. She likes to tell me she likes to read long books now, she says.
Aww, that's cute.
So anyhow, I have 2 of them. And when we go down to visit, when the new baby's born and all, I'm going to take them with me and see, because she's bringing some home. She's in kindergarten. She's bringing some short chapter books home from the library that she's chosen. So I'm going to see if she's interested in them, and see if I can get her going. And I also met someone who has, I think, 40 Nancy Drew books from when she grew up. And she has offered to give me those if I want. So if I may take on those, have them, the regular ones for when she gets older.
That's wonderful.
That is.
Yeah. Yeah. Diane, did you read Nancy Drew, Diane?
Yes, I did. And Bobbsey Twins. I saw your other podcast where you spoke about reading the Bobbsey Twins.
Yes.
Yes, I love them all.
Yeah.
And remember the golden books?
Yes.
Remember
Golden
the little golden books. I used to have those and carry those around with me. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, they were all great.
Yep.
Very much. And what about you? Stephanie, what about you? Did you ever go and get Jackie's Black Beauty book?
I'm not sure that I read the Black Beauty book, but I actually was thinking about the types of books I tend to read and that are very meaningful to me are like the Thich Nhat Hanh. I had brought up this one, which is You Are Here. And interestingly enough, what Carol said kind of resonated with what this book is like about. It basically is a way of like discovering the magic of the present moment. And it says here in the beginning, he says, I think to myself that this day is a day to live fully. And I make the vow to live each moment of it in a way that is beautiful, solid, and free. Yeah. So it kind of is very learned to like meditation and yoga. It teaches you different principles of like breathing exercises, even in the book, which I've actually found myself using when I have something, a stressful situation that comes up. I'll just think back to the book and it just sort of automatically happens at this point. I might think, okay, focus on my in-breath, focus on my out-breath, and it helps calm me. So I feel like it's had a very useful impact on my life, just dealing with life, just trying to enjoy every moment. Not thinking that I don't have the next one, but just thinking more like enjoy this moment. And he even goes into like when you're washing the dishes, to do it with love and peace and enjoy even that moment, these sort of mundane tasks we all have to do, laundry, dishes, to kind of just not just go into like, zone out, but like to actually try to really enjoy every moment. Yeah. So I find that a nice way of living.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember Stephanie did suggest, and while I didn't read the Thich Nhat Hanh book, he has recording. I believe it's him. He's the one. He
did these retreats and.
Yes, and I listened to one and it happened to be the washing the dishes one, and I was sitting there washing the dishes myself. It was, and by the end I was actually at the same. I'm not a yogi. I'm not like at that level, I would say, but I was thinking like how lucky we are to have running water, warm water, soap. and all the different things, a window to look out while I'm doing the dishes, and just like the little things that you don't think about, it really is very powerful.
Hmm.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Wonderful. Hmm. Yeah.
Another person that, oh, excuse me.
No, go ahead.
Another person, Maya Angelou, that makes you feel. And Diane had given me, and I have it right here. I just took it right off the wall. Um, and it really affected me deeply because I worked for 35 years and I worked with many, many, many different kinds of people. And this saying that Diane had given me from Maya Angelou, it says, I've learned people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. And I would read that before I went to work every day and just try to stay in that mindset, um, that we all have our problems, we all have things going on,
Yeah.
but to stay relaxed and in the present moment. So thanks, Diane.
You're welcome. I'm so glad that you loved it as much as I do.
I know you do, yes.
Your
Because
voice broke up
didn't you have that
on
in
the
your
punchline.
house?
Can you
Yes, I
repeat that?
do.
Yes, I
I
can remember reading that. I think wasn't it
yes.
like in
Yeah,
your bathroom or something?
Yes, I have it
yes.
in the
Yes.
bathroom,
Well,
like
I
in a
have
nice calm spot.
Contemplative place.
yes, well,
Yes.
I have read that at your house many a time over the years.
Yes.
Oh,
I love it. I love her writing as well.
Yes.
Hmm.
really?
Yeah.
That's phenomenal. And Maria, I'm sure you have a lot of different stories since you are in two different book groups.
Yes,
You
and the good thing about being in two different book clubs is it has really opened the variety of books that I
Mm.
read because I love historical fiction, but my favorite is probably mysteries. Like I don't know if anybody's read Alex Feeney. Um, she recently wrote, in the last decade, I'm going to say 7 books, and I think I've read 5 of them. But I love twists and turns and trying to figure out, who done it or what's going to happen next. I'm never right, which I love. I love the fact
Yes.
that it's a shocking twist, and stuff like that. But a couple podcasts ago you guys were talking, something about childhood made me think of my earliest reading memory. And I was fortunate enough that I lived 4 short blocks from our town library. And
Oh,
when I was
wow.
probably 9 or 10, I just would go up there on my own. And the like young adult section was, or the kids section was like in the basement of this. It's literally was like a little house. And right now it's a senior citizen building because across the street they actually built
Mhm.
a real library, but that wasn't there when I was young. But I would just go down there, sit down there, pull a book off the shelf, and just be in my own little quiet world and read. And there was this one book, I could never remember what it was called, but I knew it had Leon and Noel in the title, and that had a purple cover. So something one of you guys said made me say, I got to go find this book because I have no idea what it's about. But I just remember like either reading it a billion times or checking it out of the library several times. So I
Mhm.
did find it, and it was called The Mysterious Disappearance of Leon. And then in parentheses, it says, I mean Noel. And and I started reading about it. It's by Ellen Raskin, which I don't recognize her, but she passed away in the early 80s. So this was like a 70s, early 70s
Mm.
book. And the little review about it said the book received good reviews. The Horn Book magazine, which I've never heard of, described it as a story crammed with baffling word puzzles, a dozen zany characters, uproaringly funny situations, and unmitigated slapstick. It has fun with language and helps young readers with clues and liberally dispersed footnotes. And when I told my daughter I found this book, she was like, "Oh my gosh!" She's like, "That's so funny that this book you loved was like this mystery," because she's like, "That's your favorite kind of book still, you
Yeah.
know." But I'm so excited that I found it. I ordered a copy because
Oh,
I
good.
when I read like the whole story, I'm like, I don't remember a thing about this, but I'm really curious to know about young me and go back and read this and see
Really?
what it was. So
Oh,
I
that's
thank you
so
Hmm.
guys for
cool.
inspiring me for looking for that.
Oh, that's
on it.
wonderful. Yeah. Yeah, you'll have to share the cover with us when you get it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's really cool. I love that. Yeah, I love that. I do.
I remember buying all the Goosebumps books for
Mm,
my
Oh,
son.
yeah.
I
I
wanted
love
him to
those.
try to get, yeah, I wanted him to learn, to love reading as much as I did. And then he did the whole Goosebumps series, and my daughter did the Nancy Drew series. And then we got on to Harry Potter, which
Mm.
I love as much as they did,
Hmm.
you know, and I still watch the movies
Mm-hmm.
over and over again,
Hmm.
but I have reread at least three of those books. And, it's so great to get the kids involved in that.
Oh, yeah, very much
Mhm.
so.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, very, very much so. Yeah, and I love the fact that we started to talk a little bit about different quotes from books because I'm a big quote person.
Mm-hmm.
So I loved the book The Choice by Edith Edgar,
Mhm.
and she was a Holocaust victim. And in the book, she talks specifically about she was a dancer, and she happened to have been in the camp where Magdala was, and he had requested that she dance. And when she walked into this one particular room, it was Magdala and I hope I said his name correctly, and one of the guards who was extremely mean. And the quote that she has in the book is she said, I looked at them not as they are, but who I knew they could be. And I'm telling you, when I read that line, it was as if everything around me just stood still. And it's a
Mhm.
quote that I just, it really resonated in my heart.
It's
And
very
that's,
powerful.
isn't that,
Hmm.
Yeah.
yeah. And she
Mhm.
said that her sister was with her in the concentration camps also. Her sister fought a lot being there, and Edith said that she wanted to survive. And that was one of the ways that she survived. But again, for all of us who enjoy reading, we know that there are usually like little snippets, little quotes in books that just kind of resonate with us.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
And I think as a writer, I should keep saying an inspiring or aspiring writer, but
No,
I
you're a
write.
writer.
I'm a
Here.
writer, yeah, but I
Mhm.
haven't aspired to where I want to be yet. That thrills me to think that I think my dream is to think of someone waking up in the middle of the night and feeling restless and turning around and picking up my book
Mm-hmm.
and sitting there and just reading it, whether it be one of the children's books that I've written or one of the young adult books. That thrills me to think that. And then to have a quote, something that they can think about at different times.
Hmm.
Well, she
I just think
also
it's
said,
such magic.
"Hmm, given your situation, you can either be a victim or a
Hmm.
survivor."
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Decided that she wasn't going to be a victim.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
She's written some very powerful books. And
Mm.
she didn't write hers until she was older.
Yeah,
She
nine,
was
was
in
Actually,
it
yeah.
90.
90?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Really?
Not
Mhm.
90 or 94. Yeah.
Yeah.
Whatever. Yeah. But she was
But
in her 90s.
I forget which was first, The Choice, and she wrote The Gift.
Mm-hmm.
The Choice was first,
Yeah. And she
and then
wrote
she
The
wrote
Gift.
The Gift. Hmm.
Mhm.
Hmm. Yeah. So it's a very inspiring book.
Yeah.
Yeah, very much
Two
so.
books who are will come to you from the grave, not to be morbid. My mother's two favorite books, and if you,
Uh-huh.
as anybody who's read my book knows, my mother was the ultimate optimist, and her favorite books. She wrote, some of you were too young, but when in our day, we used to have an autograph book where people would sign
Yes.
their
Yes.
autograph, and then it would say your favorite book, your favorite
Yes,
teacher.
it would.
So my mother was born in 1913. So about 1925, she wrote that her favorite book was called The Lamp Lighter, about a man who lit gas lamps, and Pollyanna. And they're both
Oh,
very similar, which is that two young girls who lead a very difficult life only see the good in people.
Mm-hmm.
how about
And
that?
that was how my mother was. So those books obviously affect
Isn't that amazing? Yeah.
the Lamplight, which I'm
Mm-hmm.
sure is not print anymore, but obviously you can get Pollyanna.
Mm-hmm.
That's even become an adjective. She's
Right. Yeah.
You know, she's like a Pollyanna. You know, I'm like a Pollyanna. So books certainly, if you know, I don't know if my mother was optimistic and saw only the good in people before she read those books, or became that
Hmm.
way after she read them. But I'm sure they had a tremendous impact. She only saw the good in people.
They
Only.
were just kindred
Wonderful.
spirits. Yeah. Kindred spirits.
Hmm.
Yep.
Yeah. Very
I'm that
much.
way, and one of my friends calls me Pollyanna.
Yes.
That I should read the book, because she always is like, "Oh, Pollyanna," because I'm always that way, finding
Yep.
the good in everything and an optimist.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Yes.
Mm.
Uh-huh.
Yep.
Speaking of kindred spirits, I think I'll jump into this story now because this is good.
Mhm.
So Carol likes to go thrifting and she will bring my kids stuff. So one day she brings us a couple books, okay? And they're books that I loved when I was younger. Clifford, the Big Red Dog, Clifford's
Mhm.
Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
So I have the book and I go to read it to my son. And in the cover on the left-hand side, it says Jackie Beale.
No,
Oh,
really?
Oh, how about that?
That is crazy.
Yep.
Who told you that?
So I've been waiting for
That's
a moment to tell
funny.
this story. I feel like I tried to tell the story at one point and nobody got what I was trying to say. So I was like, this is the moment. So I
It's a
have
good
isn't
thing.
that.
that
That's
It's a
cool?
good thing I didn't tell you I
funny.
bought it new at Barnes and Noble. To be honest with Stephanie,
Well,
I
it said
bought something
Jackie
at
in
the
there, so I
bookstore
had a feeling.
hotel.
But
That's funny.
yeah, so that and it on that same line, when I was younger, I used to love I had all these books. They were like my favorite go-tos. Like when I was real little, maybe like 3 to 5, and it was like, Dr. Seuss books and all these different books. And Babes in Toyland, even though I could not. I mean, that book is so long, but my mom read it to me. The Headless Horseman, all these books. So when I had my second son, one day my cousin comes over and she's like, I have some books for you. They were all my books from my childhood. And in it, it was everybody who read it. So it was like my name, my cousin's name, my other cousin's name, and then she gave him, and then her son's name, and then she gave him back to me. And it was so
Isn't that
cute.
beautiful?
Yeah.
That's
Really
beautiful.
nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I have all of those and I have all the Nancy Drew books from my mom. So I have all the like the hardcover ones that have like I mean they're falling apart a little bit, but yeah, so it's just
Hmm.
I've always loved books. I mean books, and to think, I read all the Goosebumps and all that stuff, but I remember being pretty young and reading like Mary Higgins Clark when I was like
Oh
10.
yeah.
And then Stephen King, and I'm like, I probably shouldn't have been reading that, but I devoured the book. Um, and some of them left scars. But I write creepy stuff now because of it. So.
That's fun.
Well, my sister is 8 years older than I am, and so she was in college when I was still quite young. But I used to read the books that she read, and I remember reading Rebecca
Oh,
by Guy de Maupassant, and I loved it. And let's see, it was before we moved. I was about 8 or 9 when I read it. And there just certain, you just somehow fall into reading
Hmm.
for most unusual reasons. My
Mhm,
sister was reading it, so I read it.
mhm,
But
Yeah.
as you all said, it's so important to get kids to enjoy reading.
Hmm.
I have one granddaughter down here, and I tell her every time she finishes a book, even though she can get it at the library for free, as my husband will tell me, go to the Barnes and Noble or Inkwood,
That's
pick out any book, to read, and I pay full retail,
mhm.
yeah.
but it's worth
And
it.
then review it online for the
That's
author.
it.
Yeah. I'll be ready to go somewhere on a Friday night or Saturday night, and my husband will say to me, I said, I'm going to take a ride. Where you at? Barnes and Noble. And that's my Friday night. I just browse through the
Oh,
whole
you and my
place. Yeah.
granddaughter Amy, that's her favorite place to go to is Barnes
Yes.
and Noble.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or
It's
Inkwell.
awesome.
That's
Mhm.
my
Don't know that
that,
one. Yeah.
that's my favorite memory that I have with my mom is we would do that like every week. We would go and we would go for like 2 hours and just look at like new we were very into like I guess we would call it like awareness books. So we would go and like find a new one and just like sit there and then we'd get that and oh, what a great memory.
That is a
Mhm.
good memory.
Yeah.
Well, we want to thank everybody that came this morning, really, very, very much. We really appreciate the fact that you came and shared the memories that you have. And we hope to do this again sometime in the future. So we will certainly reach out and invite you again. And if you don't mind, if you have some friends when we do get this video up and running, you can share it with people that you know, and maybe they would join us the next time. So reading is something, a passion that we all have, a love, and we really appreciate everybody taking the time to come on.
Well,
Yeah.
thank you
So
for running
Thank you.
together.
Yes, thank you.
you're welcome. Yeah, yeah, you're welcome. So Steph, you
Sure.
want to end with?
Thank you again for joining us. And if
By
you,
the way, I'm having a garage sale, so
by the
please.
way, I'm having a great, I'm going to be going out there to work that. I do appreciate you guys being here. And if you haven't seen our podcast, and well, a lot of you have already, but feel free to tune in with us each week. And we enjoy talking with you guys and hope you have a great, wonderful day. And to everybody out there listening, we're going to be offering people to join us to do this as well. So they'll be able to sign up and do that. And thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Have a beautiful Saturday.
You
You
too.
too.
Bye-bye.
Nice
Bye.
to meet all. Bye
Yes.
bye.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.